Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Monday, June the 2nd. Wow, June. Oh my God. 2025. This year is almost halfway gone, y'all. Anyway, today's episode was, I don't classify it as a filler, but it was a kind of just moving things along episode. The best part was all about, okay, Geo and or Brooklyn, sprinkled in with Dante and Rocco. But let me go to my Geo slide. We have Geo. Sonny was the first person he came to see, and I was really happy about that. Really happy. And he's standing at Sonny's door, you know, stoic kind of. And Sonny's like, Geo, he's happy to see him. And Gio said that he had some questions for him. Sonny said, and I'll be happy to answer them. He goes, Did you know? Did you know I was your grandson? And they're still at the door. Sonny said, We need to have this conversation, but it's better had inside. Now, I can't force you to come in, but I'd like you to step inside so we can have a conversation. So Gio just looks at him and he comes inside. He goes, Since you didn't answer the question, then I'll take that as a yes. You knew. So Sonny looked at him and Sonny said, No, I didn't know. He says, I found out when you made the announcement on stage. That's when I found out, Gio. And Gio said, So you mean all those years where you pretty much supported me? You supported my music lessons, you supported my education. He goes, It would make sense of you doing this if you knew I was your grandson. But you didn't know. So why would you do all that? He says, Well, when Lois came to me asking for the support, Lois and Gloria, see, Cirillos are family. And your mother was a cousin to the Cirillos, so family, right? He says, I, would absolutely help, no questions asked. Lois is one of my oldest friends. And so he says, but you didn't know that Dante had, fathered a child? Sonny said, no. He says, let me explain something. He says, come sit down. He says, have you heard the story about Dante and I finding out we were father and son? And he goes, bits and pieces. And trust me, Sonny didn't tell him the whole thing, right? He didn't say, I found out when I shot him. He didn't say that, right? He goes, so Lois had just found out that Dante was my son. When Dante was an adult, Olivia kept it a secret. So he goes, Oh, Olivia did a Lois? He goes, Kind of, yeah. He said, But Olivia's reasons were different. He said, I was always, you know, on that wild side, you know. I was going in a direction that Olivia did not want Dante exposed to. So Olivia had her reasons for not telling me. And so he goes, But don't you hate her? And he goes, I was very, very angry at Olivia for a long time. He says, but Hader, no, she was my friend. We were, you know, ever since we were teenagers, you know. He says, and I ultimately understood why she did it. Now, your situation with Dante is completely different. And he goes, then how did you and Dante ever get to where you are now? Because you guys are close. He says, that took years. He said, literal years it took us because Dante and I were like opposites. Sonny didn't see, Sonny still ain't going into details. He's a cop. I'm a mob boss because, you know, he's a coffee importer, right? You know? And so he says, but I say this, Gio. Lois didn't find out. He said Camilla was still alive when Lois found out that Dante was my son. This was right before Camilla passed. He says, but before that, Lois never knew that you and I were related because she never knew Dante was my son. Olivia didn't tell anybody. So Gio just like, oh, okay. He says, but when Camilla passed, Lois did come to me. So, you know, she knew at that point, you know. Um, well, when Camilla passed, Lois came to Sunny because I'm trying to think timeline. Gio was 12. Yeah, she said Camilla was alive when Lois found out that I was Dante's father. He did say that because I even went back and listened to it. Um, but you know, Lois didn't know that whole time until Gio was 12. He didn't know until it came out when Dante got shot. Okay. So he says Dante is a good father, Gio. He's a good man. And in time, you know, hopefully you and him can, you know, build a relationship. He goes, I know how Dante feels about me. Dante hates me because of what happened to Rocco. Sonny said, what happened to Rocco scared Dante. And Dante may have said a lot of things in anger or fear, Gio. Okay? Don't base your decisions, your future decisions, on whether you're going to even, you know, give Dante a chance to get to know you based upon that period and based upon what you feel right now. Because this is an adjustment period. He said, just leave it open. He says, you don't have to make decisions right now. And so Jill just looked at him and he kind of smiled at him and he goes, okay, well, I'm going to go. And Sonny said, listen, I want you to understand this. You are welcome to stay here at my house. You're my grandson. And then Sonny looked at him and he smiled. He says, and even if you weren't my grandson, I hope you know you would always be welcome to stay with me. And Gio looked at him and he kind of gave to me the cutest smile. And he goes, thank you. He almost wanted to say Uncle Sonny. See, because Sonny has been Uncle Sonny. And Uncle Sonny would have given him a place to stay no matter what. And he knows that. He said, thank you, Sonny. Now Sonny's just Sonny. Ain't no Uncle Sonny. And Sonny should say, look, that's Grandpa Sonny to you, grandson. You know, he, you ain't my equal, Sonny, right? So Gio says, no, the things I have to do on my own. But thank you. And I'm thinking, on your own? The apartment above the Quartermain garage is taken unless there were two apartments up there and you could live next door to the girls. Look, I'm striking out on my own. I'm moving to the apartments above the garage. Because look, Gio don't have no money. The money Gio has, remember 2 months ago or so, when he came to the Quartermains and he set up a whole new um like college fund, whole new, I don't want to say trust fund, but it is kind of like a trust fund. But he had Diane set it up so that Gio can withdraw money anytime without having to go through hoops and ask for it. It's almost like Sonny just set up a bank account. Here's your debit card, right? For Gio. And remember, what's her name? Tracy? No, no. And Gio looked, please. He signed and gave the papers to Sonny. Thank you, Uncle Sonny. Shut up, Tracy. Please. So anyway, Gio leaves, and let's get to Brooklyn. I was proud of Brooklyn. She held her own. Because Bulldozer Gloria came on in and, told her, don't you talk to your mother that way, and blah, blah, blah. And Brooklyn looked at her and look, when she's defending Lois, Lois is standing behind her mother like, yeah, yeah, Mom, listen to Mom. Brooklyn said, no, you know what? You two still can't understand that at some point you should have let me know. When Camilla died, you left Gio orphan. I was there. I was still around him. I was an adult. You don't feel that he would have been better off and I would have been better off with both of us being in each other's life? And Gloria said, no. Once the decision had been made, it had been made. And there was no changing it. And Brooklyn looked at her and Brooklyn said, see, all my life, boy, I just knew the family that were deceptive, that would lie, that would just deceive was the Quartermain side of the family. And she looked at Lois and she looked at Gloria. She said, until now. And they both looked at her. She says, Ma, don't you feel that she goes, you were wrong. And then Gloria chimed in, Brooklyn, please. And she goes, no, Grandma, you were not. And she's pointing at me like, shut your pie hole, right? She's like, you were not at the nurse's ball. You did not see Gio just devastated up there. And now Lois is tearing up. He smashed his violin. He was left alone. And you still, you still have no regret. What did she say? Something about you still chose to keep that secret. Can't you see what the secret you all kept, what it's done to me and my son? And as she's saying that, Gio was walking in. I have a clip here. I am going to see if I can share this clip. I'm trying a different way, y'all, to see if I can get some sound, right? So you can hear it. I want to share this clip and I want to see if it's going to play for you. Let's go. Here we go. All right, this is the scene.
I even believe that you think you were doing the right thing. But you're wrong. Brooklyn, please. You weren't at the nurse's ball, Grandma. But you were. Think about Gio. Standing up on that stage all alone. Smashing that violin. He left that room shattered, with nowhere to go. trust. So you think about that. And then you tell me if everything you did was what was best for me and my son.
So I hope there was sound. I could still hear sound, but that doesn't mean it equated to the video. But that's why I made sure there was captions there so you could read what was being said versus me talking over, mixing all up the words. What was being said. But that was such a good scene, everybody. Oh my goodness, that was a great scene. So I'm really proud of Brooklyn. She was able to convey her feelings and her thoughts. And she did kind of keep her grandmother in kind of check because Gloria was really trying to bulldoze, and Brooklyn was not being. She was not going to be bulldozed, right? And I'm really happy about that because in this situation she shouldn't have been bulldozed. Now, let's get to Michael here. Christina came to see Michael. And anytime Christina wants to give you advice on anything, do the opposite. Do the opposite. Now she's coming over there saying, Michael, I hope, you're not going to give Willow this, that, which Michael isn't. But still, Christina ain't the one to say, give an opinion on anybody. And I will help you. I'll help you. It's like, oh, no, 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 girl. Look, sit in the back of the court. Christina, I don't need you for nothing. Okay. So anyway, they were talking and she was just saying how everybody, the whole time he was gone would just try to talk to Willow about what she was doing. And Willow wasn't having it. All she knew is she wanted to be with Drew. And Michael said, no, I know. He says, I know. He said, it just became apparent. He said, Christina, even Michael said, no, there were some problems in our marriage. I think Willow and I showed each other the best of each other. When it all came down to it, we would just keep secrets from each other. And I'm thinking, well, okay, if that's what you call it, Michael, because you were pretty doggone happy. you know, you were like blindly through over the moon, supportive and happy. But now, retrospect, you could say that, right? So he says, but I will not allow Willow to keep my kids in that environment. She goes, Drew is just toxic. Michael says, I know exactly who Drew is. And he will not be raising my kids. Right. So Michael said, I wrote down what Michael said. He says, I'm gonna take Willow's kids away from her, no matter what the cost is. And then he said, if I have no choice, and he's looking at Christina, he says, when I get into that courtroom, I will break her. Ooh. He's going to have Diane bring out the heavy artillery. Oh my goodness. That means Michael has some ammunition. And it has to be more than that stupid video, right? Maybe he's got some stuff on Drew to really just throw it in her face. I mean, let's see. Let the good times roll because he is pretty confident in the way he said that. I'm like, okay, I think I'm scared. you know, he is doing very well as Michael. I'm pleased. I'm 100% pleased. Dante, Rocco comes running down the stairs with the video because he's gonna see the nurse's ball. Gio's thing is going viral on the net. So he's asking Lulu, "What is this? This is from the nurse's ball. This is Gio." And Lulu's looking up at him. And she goes, and he said that Brooklyn and Dad and Dante Falconeri are his parents. Could that be true? That can't be true. And she's still looking, right. Well, and as she's flubbing up because Dante told her, "Don't you tell him nothing." Dante came walking in the front door, and he goes, "Yes, it's true, son." And Lulu looks at Dante. So Dante comes in, and he explains to Rocco, about him in Brooklyn. He goes, "We were a little bit older than you are, son. One summer at summer camp." See, and the funny thing is, when you look at it, because in essence, Charlotte is, I think, a year older than Rocco. Lulu was Charlotte's age. Mm-hmm. See, when you look at it, don't make it like, I mean, not Lulu, Brooklyn. And Lulu, yes, Lulu, when she got pregnant, had her abortion. But Brooklyn, 15, 16. Lulu was 16 when she had her abortion. That puts it in perspective when you're talking to a teenager about that age. Otherwise, Lulu running around making it like Brooklyn just made this decision as an adult. She was a kid, a teenager, not an adult. So anyway, Rocco's like, "Oh, but Dad, you said all those mean things to Gio." And Dante's like, "I know. And I'm going to have to, figure out a way to make things right with Gio." And Lulu's just looking. And he goes, "But wait a minute. Then how did Gio find out?" And Dante looked at Lulu. And then Lulu says, "Well, probably because of me." And then she says she was getting information and she found out. She goes, "I just wanted the truth to come out, to trying to get to the truth. I knew Lulu had an adoption or put her child up for adoption when she was a teenager, and the father was Dante, and he never knew. So I just was trying to find out who the baby was, who the son was, so the truth could come out." And he goes, "So Brooklyn lied to Dad about Gio being his son?" And Lulu says, "Well, it looks like that. I don't know all the information." And Dante's standing there. See, to me, everybody, Dante should have said, "Well, you know what? Look, just to be clear, son, yes, Brooklyn gave her baby up for adoption. Brooklyn did not know it was a boy or a girl and did not know it was Gio." And then he should have looked at Lulu. See, no, no, don't make it like, well, it's unclear how much Brooklyn. No, it's pretty doggone clear how much Brooklyn knew. So don't keep saying that, and that's the part I don't like. No, don't keep still trying to throw shade on Brooklyn. Yes, she didn't tell Dante 100%. She didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. She thought it was a closed adoption. Case closed. So anyway, Dante says, "I'm gonna have to figure out." And so Rocco says, "Okay, listen, do you want me to talk to Gio? Because I could talk to Gio." And then he goes, "Thank you, son, but no. That's something I have to do." Okay. I like that. Because Rocco has nothing against Gio. Rocco likes Gio. Gio's much older than him. So anyway, look, that's like Cameron and Aiden. Okay, Cameron's much older than Aiden. So that was pretty cool. And okay, this is the last part. Lucky tells Elizabeth the whole truth. Well, he doesn't say Alexis is being blackmailed by Rick, but he tells Elizabeth the whole truth about what Christina did. And she goes, "Why did you not turn her into the police? He says, trust me, I had thought about it. And Elizabeth, if God forbid I lost you, she'd be in prison right now. He says, but she goes, but Rick almost died. He goes, I know. He says, Christina had a momentary lapse of judgment. Elizabeth said, she tried to kill Ava. He goes, I know, but she tried to stop it. When she got back to Charlie's and she realized what she had done, Elizabeth, she tore back out of Charlie's trying to undo what she had done, trying to stop it. She goes, how could she undo it? The brakes were already cut and it wasn't Ava's car. And she says, when she got to that accident by the side of the road, she thought, oh my God, you know, it was Ava. But then she saw it was Rick. And I tell you, Elizabeth, she almost completely lost it. I told her to get back to Charlie. I told her. And then after they pulled out Rick and I saw it was you, oh, he goes, Elizabeth, my heart stopped because I can't lose you. Nothing can happen to you. And so she goes, okay. She goes, but why would you still cover for Christina? And he said, partly because of Lulu. And Elizabeth looked at her. He says, that family, they lost Sam while Sam was trying to do something. Lulu is alive today because of Sam. That's what he said. And I owe that family and that the loss that that family is suffering. And then I thought, okay, Alexis has lost her daughter. Then if I turn Christina in, because you and Rick were going to be okay, Alexis would lose another daughter. And he said, and after what Sam did for Lulu, he said, I just felt I had to. And so she looked at him and she says, okay. And also, if you go to the police or if I go to the police, that implicates you because you told Christina to leave the scene and you covered it up or you've stayed silent. And he looked at her and he goes, and she says, okay, then I can't go to the police either. Because she's like, look, she goes, uh-uh. He goes, do you know what that would do to Aiden? Oh no. Mm-mm. And so Lucky Elizabeth, they were talking about how she was so grateful he was there for her. She goes, you know what? In a way, not condoning at all what Christina did. She said, but Lucky, I am so grateful for the time that we have spent together. You being in this house with me and Aiden, and you looking out for me. She said, it was, I cherish it, right? So they kiss. It was pretty cute. And he goes, well, wait till you find out what I'm cooking for dinner. I got to go make my list, see what we don't have, so he can get his little grocery list together. And Elizabeth moved his jacket further off the couch so she could stretch out, and a ring box fell out his pocket. And she looks at it like, uh-oh. So watch, she's gonna put that ring box back in his pocket. Watch, that's exactly what she's gonna do. But last but not least, let's talk about Alexis talking to Laura. She smooths it away, smooths it out, that she moves some money in for an investment. It's a sound company, sound investment. And she was just trying to diversify little Ace's portfolio. And Laura said, I thought you didn't even want anything to do with it. And Alexis says, I don't. I don't want anything to do with anything, Cassadine. She says, then I'm surprised that you're actively trying to make it grow. She goes, well, if I'm the executor, then I should want to make the money grow versus just sit there. And in my mind, I'm thinking that kind of empire, leave it alone, chick, leave it alone. Right? It's still more money than he could spend in a lifetime. Make it grow. So anyway, Laura ended up buying the story and saying thank you. But look, don't let this interfere with your life, Alexis. You have a lot on your plate. Just, being the executor, don't just be spending whole lot of time trying to make his money grow. And Alexis says, oh, I have it under control. Well, Alexis's assistant came in knowing the mayor was coming. See, she overstepped, and Alexis is gonna have to really sit her down. She goes, "Oh, Alexis, I mean Miss Davis, I took the liberty of pulling the report on, and they said the name of the little fund, and here's some financials on it." And Laura's still there, and Alexis looks at her. She goes, "Well, that was very conscientious of you." And she looks at her, and she gave her kind of a look, and the receptionist says, "Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go out, right? Because nobody asked her to do that." So then Alexis says, well, Laura, do you have some time? We can sit down and go over these numbers. And Laura says, no, actually, I don't. I have an appointment. I'm going to leave all that to you, you know. So Laura leaves. Now the receptionist comes back in. I'm sorry, Miss Davis. And she looked at her. As she said she was sorry for overstepping, Marco comes in saying, Alexis, do you have a minute? I'm just going to say the chick's name was Jennifer. Jennifer had given me a copy of the reports that she was pulling, so I could kind of compile this to give to you. And Alexis looked at her. She goes, again, very conscientious. She looks at her and she goes, oh, I'm going to be at my desk. So she leaves. Marco says, and I've done some digging and some research. See, Marco's going to be the one to bust Alexis out. Ooh. He says, this company only exists for 2 months. And I have to advise you, I've seen a lot of companies like this. This is a shell company. And usually when they're set up like this, they're set up for the sole purposes of money laundering. I need to caution you. And Alexis says, thank you so much, Marco, for your research, but I've done mine too. Everything is under control. And he goes, okay, but I mean, I just need to let you, she goes, no, thank you so much, but I've got it under control, and there's nothing for you to worry about. So Marco says, oh, okay. And he's kind of looking like, something ain't right here. Because I can see what's not right. And for you not to even flinch about what's not right, I don't know, right? It's going to be Marco. He's going to be the one to find out. And we'll see what he does with the information. Gonna tell his daddy. Come on, Sidwell's going to know. So anyway, that's it, everybody. I saw scenes and I put them on my YouTube channel under my GH official clips. Sasha is on the stand and she does go into labor. And she's saying this baby is coming, and Michael rushes up there. So yeah, it's gonna be juicy in there. And I'm looking forward. And Willow's sitting there. Look, I'm looking forward to that all coming out and slapping Willow right there in the face. In the face. Even, see, Willow is so not in control of her own thoughts that that's going to floor her. That Wiley and Amelia are not his only children, and that his attentions are going to be on Sasha, because out of every other woman, Sasha was the woman before Willow. Sasha was the woman that stepped aside for Willow. So it's not like it's some rando. It's Sasha. So that's going to get under Willow's skin. She's not going to be able to think or gaze into Drew's eyes for thinking about Michael and Sasha. So we shall see. All right, everybody. Great comments in comment corner. Phenomenal comments. I was loving it. I think I liked all of them. But anyway, keep up the good work in comment corner. And I will be back tomorrow with another daily recap for General Hospital.